Hi friends, Naji here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will be discussing on how can we improve the performance of a REST endpoint by implementing HTTP compression techniques. Here we will be comparing two famous compression techniques, that is the Gzip and Brotli. And to show examples, I will be using the fast APIs. Okay, so let's start. So how the REST API works without compression, right? So just see this diagram. First, the client or the browser or app send the request to server. Server receives the request and it will prepare a JSON response. Okay, then it will send back to the client. So here we can see that the server is creating a 1 MB of data, and this 1 MB of data will be sent to the client, and client will receive the entire 1 MB data or 100,000 KB data. So here we can see that if we consider the 3G network, it will take nearly 8 seconds to download the data. Now see the example, what happens when it is with compression. So the client is sending the request to the server, and the server is maybe fetching the data from the database. Maybe it is 1 MB of data. So this will be compressed to maybe 250 to 300 KB, and this data will be sent to the client, and the browser will unzip this particular data and it will show to the user. Okay, so this is what happens when we implement the compression techniques. Here we can see the data, the 1000 KB of data or nearly 1 MB of data will be reduced to 250 or 300 KB of data. So which means like it has a 70% reduction has happened. Only like 30% of data size will be passed to the server, to client. Okay, so this is the benefit of using the HTTP compression. And here, as I said earlier, here we have the 1000 KB of data. It will take 8 seconds, and if you compress the data, it will take only 2 seconds to transfer the data. Then what is HTTP compression? Okay, so HTTP compression is a technique where the server reduces the size of data before sending it over to the network. Browser will automatically decompress it and completely transfer it to the user. And this is an example of how the compression work. For example, if I have in the response I have 3 hellos, hello, hello, hello. Okay, so the algorithm will identify the pattern and it will say that hello cross 3. Okay, so this will generate the 3 hellos. And for example, if it is a dictionary and the dictionary has a name is equal to John, okay, so consider we have like thousands of name dictionary, something like this. It's a list of dictionary. Okay, then in that case what happens is that the name is actually repeating multiple times, right? So what happens is that when we implement the compression techniques, what it does is it will replace the name with 1 and it will record like 1 is equal to name. So in that case, it will drastically reduce the size of this. Then the binary encoding store the data more efficiently. It's remove the white spaces, use the efficient encoding. And these techniques are best for the JSON, HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript files and the XML text data. Okay. Then Gzip compression. So this Gzip compression is an industry standard HTTP compression since 1982. Okay, this is little old compression algorithm techniques, and the advantage is this is universally supported, fast compression, low CPU usage, mature technology, good compression ratio. Let me make it. And wide tool is supported because since it is very old compression techniques, like most of the browsers are, or even the old browsers are supported. Okay, it's since it is very old, it's a low compression rate is there. It's an old algorithm and this is not optimized. So when we come to the Brotli, which was developed by Google in 2025, which is a relatively new compression techniques, right? So it is better compression. It is 50 to 20% smaller than Gzip, and it is a web optimized, support the dictionary, and it is a provide the configuration level. Okay, we can adjust the quality between 0 to 11, and it is a modern standard and better for text like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So when we come to the negative part of it, it is a it's a slower in so when we compress it, it is a little slow. It will take more CPU time, and it's a limited support. Since it is relatively new, it will not support like very old browsers like the old Safari or Internet Explorer 11. It will not support, but it will support all the latest browsers, and it is take higher CPU usage, and it's a newer technology. So the people has to adapt that. So this is a side-by-side comparison between the Gzip and the Brotli, and it's actually summary of what we have discussed. I will not be going through this, but the same thing that we have discussed will be, you guys can see this in this table format. And we can see when to use which. So Gzip can be used when we need to support all the browsers, including the very old ones, and server CPU resources are limited, and compressing dynamic content that changes frequently. You need to maximum compatibility and fast compression speed, and more important than the size. Okay, so your CDN does not support the Brotli, because Brotli is relatively new, like it will not support all the CDN. And we can use the Brotli. It is targeting for the modern browsers, so it will support all the 90, usually like all the latest 95% of browsers will support, and it's really good for the CSS, JS, and the static files. And this can be pre-compression. Yeah, we can do the pre-compressed files during the build time, and maximum file size reduce its priority. Okay, let me make it little big. It's hard to read. Okay, so maximum file size reduction in priority, and using modern CDN. So if you are using the Fastly or the Cloudflare, we can use the Brotli. And your users are on the mobile or the metered connections, then we can use the Brotli, because in this case the sizes matters, right? In the metered connection or the mobile, it will actually count the size of the data will definitely impact the performance. Okay, so these are the scenarios that we usually do. These are the scenarios, like based on these situations, like we can decide like which one we need to use. Okay, now I will show you a real-time example, like how much performance these two Gzip and the Brotli will give. Okay, so for that, like I have a sample FastAPI file is there. I can show you. So here I am mentioned like compression techniques as a Gzip, and what I am doing here, I am actually adding a middleware. Okay, so here I am adding a Gzip middleware is adding, and I am setting the maximum size as 1000. Okay, so here you guys can see I am actually downloading importing it from the FastAPI middleware Gzip, and I am importing Gzip middleware. Okay, now if I set it's a Brotli, so here also like I am adding another middleware, that is the Brotli middleware, that is I am adding. Okay, so based on these settings I am adding two different middlewares. Okay, so this is simply settings, and you guys can see, let me scroll it down. Okay, you guys can see a sample data here. What I am doing is that I am just sending some dummy JSON file so that we can test it properly. Okay, so also another Python file you guys can see, a script file you guys can see. What it does is it will actually calling these two APIs, and it is calculating, or it is showing us which one give the better performance. It is actually calculating the different performance metrics, and it will show a report to us. Okay, so what I will show you first is let me see. Okay, so okay, first what I can do, let me stop the server. Okay, I am restarting it again. So this will run our FastAPI. Okay, so application startup is completed. Now let me go back here. So let me clear it, and I can run the script, the performance tester.py. So let me execute it, and it says it is going to test for Gzip, and I can see that currently I have set it as a Gzip, and I can execute it. Okay, so it is testing the performance. Okay, now it is asking to change me this to Brotli. So let me change this into Brotli, and So the Brotli compression enabled. Okay, now it is started. Okay, now I can press enter. Okay, see, this is completed, and here we can see the different response times. So if it is Gzips, what it took actually 415.60 millisecond, and the Brotli actually took the 255.83. So this is the minimum it took, and maximum it took only 330.47 millisecond, and this is the median. Okay, so definitely here we can see Brotli is giving us a higher advantage. And when we look into the size, okay, size is seems to be mostly same. I mean, this minimum is same and maximum is same. Okay, so this is the summary after doing that. Compression ratio Brotli provides 0.0 better than the compression. So this is the compression, but performance wise Brotli is giving actually 35.6 faster than the Gzip. Okay, so this is an example how can we use the Gzip and the Brotli, and as I explained, so based on your use case, you can select Gzip or the Brotli. And one thing you have to remember is that most of the framework by default they did not support any compression techniques. Okay, so in FastAPI it does not support any compression techniques by default, so we have to add some middlewares to support that. Okay, so the same can be applied to the other frameworks also. So that is all about in this video. Please do like and subscribe. Have a nice day. Bye bye.